Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph, towards the bottom of the page. We're in the word Itmar Rav and Levy. The line starts Yochanan. It's about less than 10 lines from bottom of the narrow lines. Yeah, Itmar Rav and Levy. We're learning today and yesterday and today about a very, very important concept of Shelichus Yad. Shelichus Yad means as follows. The Torah says in Exodus, in Parshas Mishpatim, it says, I can quote you the pasuk because it's quoted here in the Gemara later on. It says, "Im lo yimotze aganav v'nikav ba'al habayis el Elohim." The Baal Habayis should approach the Elohim, which is based in Im lo sholoch yodo b'meleches re'eu, which means a shomer is only potur on whatever is potur on, be it shomer chinam for gneva v'aveda or a shomer socho for oines. The only potur if they were not sholeach yad. But if a shomer was sholeach yad, if a shomer was sholeach yad, then he's not potter, he's chayav be'oinsin. What does that mean? So we saw in the Mishnah, if a person takes a barrel and his intention is to do what? That's a good question. If his intention was to be either gneva or sholeach yad, we're going to discuss it. As long as he is caught red-handed and he's picking up the item of the owner in order not to do something nice with it, but for his own benefit, general word I would use in English would be like to embezzle. To use it for himself. Then I'm being very general on purpose because soon we're going to fill in the gaps, the dotted lines. And now, if he is in this matzav, as long as he's in the matzav of taking it for himself, interested in taking for himself, and possibly he has to take some for himself from, let's say, from the wine, while he is in this criminal, session, so to speak, then he is chayav in any oinsin that may happen. When does that session, when is it over? And it's an all clear sign, and he's back to being a good shomer. Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel says once you put it back down in the same place where you're supposed to put it, even though you did not inform the bailim, you're okay already. And according to Rabbi Akiva, no, you also have to inform the bailim that there was a theft or shlichus yad. Now, what exactly is gneva and what is shlichus yad? I'm not going to write it on the wall because I think it's simple enough without the chart. There are two main understandings that are Rishonim about what's shlichut yad versus gzela, which means if the person is goizel, if a person wants to take something from his friend's house, and guess what he did? He did a hagbaha even inside his friend's house, or mashicha outside the house. It was a kinyan gneva. I don't need the Torah to tell me shlichus yad. Shlichus yad means, listen to me carefully, if you listen to the basis, to the foundation, everything will go smoothly. Shlichus yad, by definition, the translation of the word lishloch yad is to extend your hand, to how do you say in nice English? Get your hand to the wrong place. In other words, it has other connotations in Hebrew. Mess with someone's stuff. In other words, you're not a full-fledged ganav. A ganav is, stalabatishly speaking, more than a shelech yad. The shelech yad is a guy who says, of course, the tea or the coffee or the wine or whatever belongs to the other guy. I'm only, in British it's called nicking. I'm only, taking the froth, the cream off the top. I'm only taking a little bit for myself, and he won't notice anyways, and I'm really a nice guy and I give tzedakah, I'm not really a thief. So that, mini thief is called shelech yad, and if this is done in the context of shmira, says the Torah, if you are shelech yad, as long as you're in the session of shlichus yad, matzav shlichus yad, then you're chayav and oinsin. And if the animal was nenas, you can't swear in Beis Din it was nenas. Well, you could, but it won't help you because you also have to swear what? Out of three shvuas, you're not shelech yad. And the third one is that it's not in your house. Okay, now, so one definition to define the difference between gneva and shlichus yad is that's Rashi. Gneva is when you take the entire thing. Shlichus yad means when you take some of it. Is it theft? Of course it is. But lamaisa, if you want the main thing to belong to the owner and you use it, not use it in a way that will leave it intact. You use it in a way that will leave it intact, not intact. It will leave it missing something. That will leave it, some of the wine will be in your tummy. Or let's say we're going to see later using an animal and making it weaker. So it's not coming back to the owner in the exact same matzav. There's wear and tear. That's called shlichus yad. Mashenk and gneva is downright theft. You intend on just taking the whole thing to yourself, and later you had charata, you put it back, you didn't steal. Now the Ritva, I'm mentioning the Ritva again. The Ritva is very interesting. The Ritva says, no, it has nothing to do with amounts of all versus part. It's not all or nothing. Ritva says a ganav is a ganav who wants to take and never return. The ganav believes that the world is his, and therefore either he takes the entire chavis or 3 drops. It's called gneva. Shelichus Yad, says the Ritva, is when you either take the entire thing or some of it, and you're a very honest guy, and you'll definitely pay for this entire bottle of Chardonnay worth 600 shekels. You will pay 600 shekels one day. Yeah, but Lamaisa, right now you're taking his wine without permission. That's called Shelichus Yad. So Shelichus Yad is always like a lighter version of Gneva. I'm just translating. I'm not even saying anything. This is not dictionary definition. Shelichus Yad is when you have sort of a lighter form of Gneva, one way or the other, which applies lahalacha regarding what? Regarding the shomer, a shomer who what? A shomer who wants to take it, and at that point he's chayav be'oinsin. Yeah, and until he returns it, he's going to be chayav be'oinsin, whatever returning means. 1 second. I just want to point out that now we had a question, and then we'll listen to our questions. Our Mishnah did not talk about a person who's mechaser, who's actually taking, subtracting, removing an amount, something real, tangible from the owner. So what is he? Oh, here comes the big machlokes, which we're going to focus on today. One opinion says Shelichus Yad tzricha chisoron. We're going to delve into that soon, but I promise to listen to you first before we continue. Shelichus Yad tzricha chisoron means, right? Shelichus Yad means to take some of the juice, of the wine, of the whatever. Now, let's say a person picked it up. Yeah, imagine yourself, oh, here's a jug of beautiful wine, let's say, and I pick it up in order to take some, and I have bad machshavos. My kinyan hagbaha is I am interested in drinking, a little bit of Yitzchok's amazing wine over here, and then, 90% I'll put back. As I was thinking the vicious thoughts, I did not yet take it. I did not yet drink 1 drop, and then boom, came the lightning, came the baseball bat from my neighbor, and oinus came. That's the machlokes. When I wanted to be Shelichus Yad, but I didn't, am I already called Shelichus Yad? Wanting to take a small amount, or according to the Ritva, wanted to take in order to pay, wanting alone, are we that machmir? Do we already call that Shelichus Yad, and he's going to be chayav oinsin? That's one opinion. The other opinion says no. That's a question, yes or no. That's going to be the issue today. How did you get to it? Regarding our Mishnah. Our Mishnah spoke about a guy who picked up the entire chavis, but did not take wine. It doesn't say that he took wine. He moved it, he meddled with it, he did stuff. Now, one opinion says that's not Shelichus Yad. Shelichus Yad means to take. You didn't take. So why are you chayav in the Mishnah? Because you really wanted to steal the whole thing. It's not Shelichus Yad, it's a theft. That's why chayav. It's a different category. That's on the Mishnah Chayav, not because Shelichus Yad. Because the Ganav, everybody agrees that if I'm the real bad guy, Ganav is always worse than Shelichus Yad. And here's a great example. If I am Goinev, in order to take, at that moment, I'm a Ganav. If I did kinyan hagbaha, it's a kinyan. Don't laugh, it's kinyan hagbaha. And I am interested in taking the entire thing, lock, stock, and barrel, excuse the pun, of the barrel of wine, everything, yeah? Even though half a minute later, I had charoto. Oh, yeah, Hashem is watching me. The Chofetz Chaim told me Hashem is watching me, and I put it down. Lo meshaneh. At that moment, I'm for sure ganav. That's not a question. Question is about Shelichus Yad. The other opinion says no. Shelichus Yad ain't a tzricha chisoron. If you pick it up in order to drink a little bit or drink and pay for the ritva, you wanted the lighter version, red-handed. If at that moment it's struck by lightning, you are fried and cooked, and you have to pay the entire thing. I hope it's not too much in one go. And as we go along, things will, unravel more and more. But I'm willing to your questions before we even started this year. Am I nice? I'm the opposite of not. Okay. Yeah, okay. Question time. I think he was first. The old British gentleman, please. COVID. Yeah. Okay, I'm listening. Okay. Real life case. Real life, not real life, but a good, example. A person was, nobody saw the person who's not very honest shomer. His Yetzer got the better of him for a few minutes. He picked up the barrel of wine in order not to steal the entire thing. That's not a question, he's chayav. In order to take a sip, a small nice cup in honor of Hanukkah. And then he regretted, oh, how could I think of it? But before he regretted, boom, struck by lightning. So now he never really took it. He thought of Sholeach Yad. That's a question. He thought, let's be Sholeach Yad. Now he comes to Beis Din with a broken barrel, all the wine spilled, all balagan. Now he says to the person who's honest, and I'm a shomer chinam, I'm a good guy. The Dayanim tell him, were you Sholeach Yad? You know what the guy should do? The guy should say, I want to consult with my Torah Rabbani, with my rabbi. Seriously. Because I don't know if I was Sholeach Yad. Because it's a machlokes amoraim whether thinking of taking an amount from the whole thing is Sholeach Yad or not Sholeach Yad. That would be the nafkamina. Because he does want to be nishbal sheker. The guy's honest enough to not nishbal sheker. Okay, thank you for bringing it out. You're the last one for now, and then you know where we're going. Yeah. Weiter. Itmar, machlokes amoraim, Rav and Levy. Machlokes Rav and Levy. Now we don't know who said what. Yeah, many times you have this machlokesim. We know we're going to try and figure out who said what. Rav and Levy had an argument. We don't know how to connect the numbers to the letters. Chad Omer Shelichus Yad tzricha chisorin. One of the opinion is more lenient. Please press that. Shelichus Yad is only considered Shelichus Yad and Yichai be'ointzin if he actually took some of the wine with or without trying to pay. Yeah. The other opinion is more maknir and more stringent and says, no, once you picked it up hagbaha and had clear vision in your mind, I'm going to have some of that amazing merlot, just one cup out of the chavis, then you are chayav as a sholeach yad. With ein tzricha means it doesn't require chisaron, even without physical chisaron, physical, deduction of it, you already considered the sholeach yad. Now we don't know who said what. Let's play obviously not a guessing game. Let's play an educated guess. Tistayim deravu de'omer shlichus yad ein tzricha chisaron. Let's assume, let's deduct from the following sentence. The Rav is the one who says that shlichus yad ein tzricha chisaron. Shlichus Yad is machmir, and even without actually taking away, subtracting, you already considered Sholeach Yad. Detanya. Let's look at this brisa, which appears in Daf, I think, like around the Gimel. That's the classical stories there about the Dalit Shomrim. It says in the brisa, Roya shoya roya edroi. Remember Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Sun Chanukah. Roya was Roya the Eder. The Roya, they have to translate. Okay, the shepherd was, leading his herd, his flock. He left his eder, he left the flock, and he went to town. Now, for one reason or the other, was not considered pshia. One explanation is that he heard the lion coming. So this shomer is not from Givat Yorgolani. He doesn't have a gun. It's a regular, 16 years old shomer. He's hearing he's not imagining. There's a lion coming. He ran away without taking the sheep. It's not Yorgu Bal Yavor. So he ran to town. There's other explanations there, but it's not the issue now. Ubazev the Torah, a wolf really came. One wolf, some people say, is considered oines, and a wolf came and really tore off and devoured the animal. Uba Arya the Doras, a lion came, and Doras, Rashi explains that the Torah and Doras are different. Some of them, they eat them straight away, and some of them, they take it to their hole, to the lion's den, and that's where they eat it. In any event, there was oines. Let's just view the entire story for us, for our page. This is classical oines. A lion came, a wolf came. What would you do against them? I would run away, as macho as I want to be. I don't have a gun. I don't know what to do with them. That's considered as oines. And therefore, Patu is a shomer chinam, shomer socher, probably shomer socher. Yeah, he's a shepherd. He's Patu because it's oinsin. So far, so good. However, let's talk about shlichus yad. What about if heniach makle v'tarmila oleho? Let's say before the lion came, the unlucky thing happened, and before the lion or the wolf came, the shomer, placed his staff, his stick, his whatever you want to call it, his shepherd stick or his tarmil, his backpack, he placed it on the sheep. So he's using the owner's sheep without permission. He's using it by placing in there. Who allowed you to use and put your stick on my sheep? Now it's not such a terrible thing, you would say. The sheep doesn't mind. It's a light thing. But let the story unfold, okay? So now let's say he used the animal before the lion came, and then the lion came and ate it. Chayav. Oh, chayav is chayav on that. You're beginning to smell the coffee, right? But the Gemara has this question here. V'havin and bo. We asked the question on that brisa. These are Amoraim talking. Mishum deniach makel v'tarmila oleo chayav. First of all, the question is hashaklinu. The assumption was that he took it away before the lion came. That was the assumption. I already jumped the stage here. I'm sorry. In other words, he placed the stick or the staff or the tarmil or the sandwich bag on the sheep, and then the lion came. Frag the Gemara, why? I assumed that he took it as he was running to town. He already removed it from the animal when the lion came. So what's the problem? He's not called even a havamid of Shelichus Yad. Says the Gemara, no. Omar Nachman, Omar, and by the way, according to Rabbi Akiva, he's still considered a Shelichus Yad. Reminds us Rashi and Tosfos, right? Did he tell the Bailim that I placed my stick on your animal? No. So according to Rabbi Akiva, it doesn't help to remove it. You have to remove and send a quick SMS or phone call to the owner. I actually just used your animal and I'm chozer b'tshuva. Let's leave that aside. Let's follow Rabbi Shmuel here, okay? And the question is, once I took the item off the animal's back, I stopped my bad behavior Shelichus Yad session, I'm a good man. So what's the problem if afterwards the lion came? The obvious answer is, obviously, the Omar of Nachman, Omar Abba Baravua, Omar Rav, hey, Rav. We're trying to figure out who is the one who says who's more machmir in Shelichus Yad, Rav or Levi? Listen carefully. This is Rav talking over here. Last narrow line. Meaning, the lion was there while the animal still had the stick or the sandwich bag or the smartphone on top of the animal. Was the shomer's item was sort of illegally lying on the animal's back. That's what's called Shelichus Yad. Not pshia. The animal is okay. Shelichus Yad. Shelichus Yad. While the Shelichus Yad was still going on, then the lion came and devoured it. No, that's a cute little case of Shelichus Yad. However, frag the Gemara, so what if the animal still has a stick on it? Another factor is still missing. Ha'loi moshcho. He did not pull it, which means Shelichus Yad, and by the way, that's one of the differences between, no, I don't want to say it actually for that. No. Shelichus Yad, Geneva, Shelichus Yad, says Rashi, and I want to read it inside here. I'm sorry for missing the screen. Mekach Gezel Shelichus Yad. Yes. We all know, you guys all know very well that, if I'm thinking of stealing or I'm planning on stealing, it's not called theft unless halachically, what do I do in order to steal? When am I called a ganav? You tell me. If I did what? Kinyan, Meshicha, hagbaha. Yeah, same thing applies to Shelichus Yad too. Shelichus Yad, and that's interesting. If the animal was lying down, crouched, grazing nicely, and I placed my phone on the animal, although I'm not a nice guy, and maybe I'm called a shol shlomidas, I'm ignoring that for now. It's not called Shelichus Yad. The Shelichus Yad has to have very clear terms of when it starts and when it finishes. Shelichus Yad only begins when you did a kinyan in order to be Shelichus Yad. How are you corner? Either by Meshicha, by pulling, if it's an animal, or if it's hagbaha, animal inside the Baalim's Rishus, hagbaha Meshicha. That wasn't done. Yeah, we're talking here about a guy who just placed it, again, not a nice guy, not Shedach from a daughter. Lamaisa, there was no Shelichus Yad because there was no clear beginning of Shelichus Yad by doing a kinyan. Answers the Gemara. V'omar Rav Shmuel v'Rav Yitzchak Omar Rav again. This is definitely Rav of territory here. Shekisha b'makel v'rotz telefonov. Oh, that's the important ukimto of Rav. We're talking here that when you place the makel there, you actually hit it with a makel. You hit it with a stick in order for the animal to run. Now, if you hit an animal and the animal runs, that's called pulling. I believe you know. It's in Kiddushin, but we saw it in many other places, Kiddushin around space over there, that Meshicha is not only pulling, like you see half a neighborhood, you're pulling their dogs. Pulling also means if you cause it to walk. For example, let's say you call your favorite cow, Bessie, 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 and it comes, it starts moving because of your voice, which, animal trainers know to do very well, or you dangle a carrot and it comes, that's called Meshicha. So if the person hit it with a makel and the animal started moving as a result of that, and the reason why he wants it to move is not really kosher. He's moving it and then places the makel. He brought the animal, come, come, come. But he didn't just say, come, come, come. He hit it with a makel, hit with a makel so the animal moves. That's Mashicha. And the purpose of the Mashicha was not come and eat, come and drink, come and play. Come and hold the makel on your back because I want to use you for my stuff. And he's doing Mashicha. So one thing we created here very nicely, we have a koshel and a hadrin. What? Shelichus Yad. We have Shelichus Yad of what? We have Shelichus Yad. There was Mashicha. There was usage, illegal. He pulled it to his side by the makel and placed the makel and placed the rucksack, it's called in other languages. He placed the phone, he placed whatever. And now the animal, he's abusing it, Shelichus Yad, with all the frills. And now the lion came. I'm sorry. It's true that the lion is honest, but as the lion came, the lion caught it in a very bad moment. Well, you, mister, was in the middle of your Shelichus Yad, and therefore you got to pay the sheep baby very well. Now we're getting to the punchline. What are we trying to figure out from this whole story? We are asking now a question. When I'm Shalech Yad, do I have to reduce something of the animal or of the wine? Yeah or no? Says the Gemara, look, the haloi chosro. This is Rav talking. The animal's not missing a limb. He didn't cut a limb from the animal. He didn't cut even some of its wool, right? He didn't cut its ear. Yeah, in this week's Pasha, Targum Yonason says, why did Yosef think that the brothers are Ever Minachai eaters? Because they cut some of the ear and some of the tail, because that was like for them a minhag of good mazel or something. So he thought they're going to eat it. Lo meshaneh. Lamaisa here, the person is not eating, not taking anyway anything, and yet elalav. Here comes the climax, rabbis. Elalav must be shma mina. From here we see that Rav's version of Shelichus Yad is to take an animal, gently place the smartphone, gently place the stick, gently place something without missing anything, without taking anything. Kasova, Shelichus Yad, ein etzricha chisaron, mazel tov. We found the right person for the right opinion. We see the Rav is the one who was the main spokesman over there. And he said that if you place the thing gently on the animal, it's called Shelichus Yad if all other conditions are met. So, Shelichus Yad, the mere fact you used it without taking anything is already called Shelichus Yad. Answers the Gemara, no. Now, this is a very rare Gemara. The Gemara now is not going to just reject it to a state of maybe. It's going to reject it and it's going to prove the Rav believed just the other way. Let me read it for you. Ema. The Gemara is now rejecting and saying, Ema, let us read the Brisa differently, or to be honest, to read Rav's word differently. What did Rav say? Hekisha b'makel. What's lehakish? It's a fancy word in Hebrew to hit. Lehakish. Ema shekhisha b'makel. You know the ches shekhisha, like Hanukkah? What's kachush? What's kachush? Anybody? You know. Yeah, thin. It thinned it with the makel. He hit it so viciously, and now the animal is really misken, was a little bit harmed, wounded, bruised, and now the animal is worth less. It's animal with a wound. He was makhish. He hit it with the makel in a way that caused that it caused hakhasha, that caused it to be thinner, and that is called chosel. That is called yes, an animal is missing something, and that's why Rav said it's called Shelichus Yad. And how do we know the Rav requires the should yes be something missing from the value? You hit it and you devaluated it. Daikanami, it's also alluded to in the word, the Ktani. It says Shekisha b'makel shma mina. Why did Rav choose Dafka to talk about somebody who's hitting with a makel? Are we looking for a violent movie over here? Why, if all Rav wanted to say, to explain, is to fill the gap of kinyan, but we said it in a much gentler way. He pulled it gently. He called it, yeah, Lucy, come up. All kinds of nice ways of Mashiach. Why did Rav Davka say that it hit it with a makel? Why? Rav is not chas v'shalom looking to describe violence. Rav wanted to say, you know why you had Shelichus Yad? Only because, we might be switching sides big time here, because there was chisaron, because the animal now was bruised and is now worth less. That's why Dafka spoke about hitting with a makel. Where's the makel here? Hitting with a makel over here like this. and that's why the animal is not worth less, and that's why Rav holds. Mamish was switching sides. Rav is the one who holds what? The Shelichus Yad tzricha chisaron is a lenient opinion. And he says that if you picked up the jug of oil of Hanukkah, or you picked up the whatever, and you just wanted and thought and had an idea and had vicious plans, although you did the hagbaha like Sefer Torah, if you never actually took anything or devaluated in any ways, you are not yet chayav as a Shelichus Yad. That's what we want to say. I'll promise you I'll listen to you soon. Just to be mesader and have things tidy, the Gemara now, that's the maskana. We're going to stay with that. That's not that this is the halacha, that this is Rav's opinion. Now the Gemara just wants to set things, to organize everything. The Gemara says, how many opinions were the machlokes? 2, Rav and Levy. We don't know who says what. Now we feel the X and the Y, like a math formula, like an equation. Who's the X? Rav says Shelichus Yad requires chisaron, and if there's no chisaron, you're not chayav. He's lenient. Levi savar, if X is this, then Y is the other. Levi believes Shelichus Yad ain't tzricha chisaron, and Levi will be our companion till the end of this year. Levi is one who is more machmir and says Shelichus Yad does not require chisaron, meaning even if you just thought or you did something else which did not take away, you also call the Shelichus Yad and you also chayav. And now we're going to discuss Levi. Yes, I'm listening to you now. Commercial break. Yeah. As I said to Baruch, I am not talking today about the third option, which is there. And the third option of the Mishnah, which was mentioned before by Rav Shelichus, is what? Is when you're not a ganev, wants to take everything. You're not a Shelichus Yad who wants to or does take some of it. You just want to use it. You're using the barrel as a ladder to step on. That's called shol shlomidas. You're borrowing without his knowledge, and that kind of borrowing is something that is a bit iffy. Not everybody would be interested in their barrel being a ladder and to be stepped on. Maybe it's going to break, 150 kilo person, or maybe it's not so clean, not so nice. Pashenkin, as Baruch gave a good example, if I, let's say, put my little non-smartphone on someone's big barrel, that's not even, for sure it's not Shelichus Yad, there's no kinyan, right? It's for sure not gzela, I'm not interested in stealing. I don't think it's even considered shol shlomidas, because that usage without his knowledge is not really called usage that he has any reason to object. I'm not saying if it's mutter to do, by the way, but lemaisa, it's not called a problem vis-a-vis oinsin. If I place my tiny phone over a huge barrel, doesn't make it dirty, doesn't put any extra weight, and then struck by lightning, I'm not going to be chayav be'oinsin. That's what I'm saying. I'm not in that bad session of mechayav be'oinsin. That I'm 99.9 sure from looking at the Rishonim yesterday. It's, I think, Yosef says, no, please. Okay, 2 quick questions, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, Zoom is the worst kid in class, that's for sure. Okay, fine, weiter. Now, my time at the Levi. 1 line before the end of the page. What's Levi's reason? Why is it really the Levi says, machmir, and Levi actually, Levi says that even if you thought of, by the time of the hagbaha, you thought of taking some of the wine, not all of it, or pay for it, for the ritva, then you're already chayav, even if you didn't actualize what you wanted, but at that moment, that was your thought, and boom, then it hit it, then the onus came, you're chayav. Levi's machmir. What's Levi's reason? I want to give you a small introduction. The Gemara is going to work hard to understand Levi more than Rav, because the Pashat Pshat of Shelichus Yad, as I told you, what Shelichus Yad? To extend your hand to the wrong place and take. Lishloach Yad. Rav Simkin told me yesterday, he sent me an email, very nice. What does it say Shelichus Yad first time in the Torah? In this week's Parsha. Yeah, Reuven says, don't be Sholech Yad in the boy, in Yosef. Don't harm the boy and take him out of the, and don't kill him, but rather put him in the pit. That was the original, So Lishloach Yad means to harm an existing thing. So Lishloach Yad means to do something. Levi wants to mechadish and say, no, Shelichus Yad is not only if you did it, even if you were magbia in order to do it, you're already chayav. So Levi is mechadish more. Levi would have to explain his case more than Rav. Omar B'Yochanan. So now let's look at the following statement of Rabbi Yochanan, of the Memo. Omar B'Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi. Remember the names. Rabbi Yochanan is the first generation Amoira in Eretz Yisrael. He's quoting his Rebbe. Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe, says Rashi, was Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi, who was a Tana, as far as I know. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan quotes his Rebbe, but soon he's going to argue on his Rebbe. Says Rabbi Yochanan, quoting Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi, Mishuna shlichus yad ha'amur b'shomer sachar, shlichus yad ha'amur b'shomer chinam, which means, if you learn the Chumash, if you learn the Chumash in Parshas Mishpatim, it says twice in the Torah that if the person wants to be exempt and not pay, who's the person? Well, one time it talks about shomer chinam, another time it talks about shomer socho, and in both of them it says that he has to do what? He has to get close to the Elohim. I'm saying Elohim on purpose because it's not Hashem, it's Beis Din. He has to go to Beis Din and take a shvuah on Beis Din that he was not Sholech Yad, whatever that means. Sholech Yad, meaning that if he was Sholech Yad, then he's got to pay. And that's actually the source in the Torah that Sholech Yad has to pay even ba'onus. Yeah, because in order not to pay, either not to pay because Gneva Vaveda, of Shomer Chinam, Oines, Shomer Sachar, it's all very nice. You got to make a shvuah. You're not a Sholech Yad. Says Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi, quoted by Rabbi Yochanan, Shlichus Yad of Shomer Sachar, Shlichus Yad of Shomer Chinam are not the same. It doesn't mean that the details are the same, but the reasons that are mentioned in the Torah are different. Soon we're going to see why. The reason why the words are there in the Torah serve me for a different purpose. Vani oimer, look at Rashi. Rabbi Yochanan polig Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi Rabbi. Rabbi Yochanan argues on the Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi. Ani omer ein meshuna, and I say no, it's not different. The twice it says twice shomer sachar shomer chinam shlichus yad. It serves the same purpose. This is just a statement. If nobody understands what the Gemara just said, that's good, because the Gemara is going to explain exactly now what we just said. Umay meshuna. What did the Tana Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi mean when he said that the Shlichus Yad of Chinam and Sochar is different? It's not different halachically. What does it mean to say? The Gemara is going to say it very, very clearly. Lo Toimar says, basically, you tell me, before we continue. Now, does the Torah use extra words, spare words? Is the Torah an English newspaper, Chas Shalom? No. The Torah, as we all know, doesn't repeat the same thing twice, right? Oh, we're on the same page? Yofi. The Torah, from some odd reason, is repeating the same concept of Shlichus Yad, B'Shomer Chinam, and B'Shomer Sachar. And that, according to Rabbi Yossi ben Oiroi, is kind of weird. Look at the Gemara. Lo te'omer Shlichus Yad B'Shomer Sachar. Let the Torah not mention Shlichus Yad, which is a chumrah in Shomer Sachar. I would erase, I would delete, I would take away the word Shlichus Yad from the Shomer Sachar parsha. The Teisi B'Shomer Chinam. And I would automatically, logically, Tati would learn it to Shomer Chinam. Rabbis, who's more chomer? Shomer Chinam, Shomer Sachar? Who would treat more Sachar? Very nice. Uma Shomer Chinam shepotu b'gneva v'aveda. The Shomer Chinam, who's everyone's darling, he's the cutesy one, who's potter from everything except for glaring Shia, even gneva v'aveda. Shomer Chinam is the most lenient one, and yet Sholach bayad chayav, and yet Shomer Chinam, who's such a cutesy, Kula he's so lenient and kula, and yet if he was Sholech Yad, no reduction for him, he's chayav in oinsin, Shomer Sachar, shechayav b'gneva v'aveda lo kol shekain. A Shomer Sachar is chayav b'gneva v'aveda. Shomer Sachar is treated more severely than Shomer Chinam. Then of course, if he wanted to be Sholech Yad, of course that he's going to be chayav in oinsin. Yeah, so the Shomer Sachar, the mention of Shlichus Yad b'Shomer Sachar is absolutely extra, redundant, and unnecessary. In other words, you can learn from Chinam to Sachar. So v'chomer, if Shomer Chinam, the little darling, even him we're treating so b'chumra, and if he's what? Chayav b'Shlichus Yad and oinsin, then kol shekan Shomer Sachar is chayav b'oinsin if he's Sholech Yad. Therefore, lemay hilchas hakasvina rachmana, so why did the Torah write and mentioned lichor superfluously the din in Shomer Sachar? Not that they're different, halachically they're the same. Lomer lecha, as we see many times, the Torah mentions the same thing twice to add a chumrah, and tell you shlichus yad ein tzricha chisaron, full stop. Which means there is like an overspill of the word, which means The word Shelichus Yad, or the concept of Shelichus Yad, is mentioned twice. Not to say that it applies b'shomer sochar. I know it applies b'shomer sochar. It's coming to tell me Shelichus Yad. Okay, Baruch Hashem gave me a good example now in my mind. It's like you write Shelichus Yad. If the Torah had a red marker or an underline, that is it. With the Torah Shelichus Yad twice, he wants to tell me Shelichus Yad, big red letters, big red marker, Shelichus Yad. In other words, Shelichus Yad is so severe that even if you just thought of Shelichus Yad, of course, after hagbaha, you're magbiah in order to take 5 drops of the wine, you're already chayav, even if you didn't fulfill your dream. Yeah, that's the chumrah. That's what the Torah repeats it for extra strength. Yeah, to emphasize the point and tell me, chumrah eina tzricha chisaron. And who believes Rabbi Yossi ben Oroi? Levi. Levi is a fan of Rabbi Yossi ben Oroi, and therefore he believes that what? That really Shelichus Yad does not need chisaron, even without physical chisaron. Just wanting the chisaron is bad enough makes you a Sholech Yad. That is what the first opinion of Rabbi Yossi ben Oroi. Zani Oimer, who's talking now? Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan brought down his Rav's words and argues on his Rav, and he says, Eina Meshuna. No, I don't think that Shelichus Yad b'shomer chinam b'shomer sochar is written for different purposes. It's written each one for itself, and the Torah does have to tell me about shomer chinam, and still has to tell me b'shomer sochar, and b'shomer sochar it's not considered as redundant. Whoa. Even though we know that shomer chinam has Shelichus Yad, we still have to tell me that the Shelichus Yad also applies b'shomer sochar. And the obvious question is why? Isn't it the kal v'chomer? Isn't it obvious that shomer chinam is more lenient than shomer sochar? The answer is no. And everybody who learned the beginning of this parak and also Bava Kama knows why not. Let the Gemara talk. Kera belozo. I follow Reb Lozer. What did Reb Lozer say? The Omer do v'do achasi. Reb Lozer says both shomer chinam and shomer sochar are more or less equal. I'm saying on purpose more or less. You'll see why. Both shomer chinam and shomer sochar could possibly have the same level of chumrah. Huh? What does it mean? My Davido Achasi, excuse me? How can you say that they're the same? Doesn't every child in Kita Dalit know that Shomer Sochar is the more severe one and Shomer Chinam is more lenient? Well, what's the story over here? Answers the Gemara, Mishum de Ikal Mifrach. You could argue and say that in a certain aspect, Shomer Chinam is more chomur. Bava Kama, where are you? Mal shomer chinam has it's a chumrah. There's an outcome of a kula, so it's difficult. But lemaisa it's a chumrah. Where's the chumrah of shomer chinam? Let's catch him in the corner. Sheken mishalim teshlumei kefel betoin tanis ganev. Ay. Which means a shomer chinam. Yeah. Let's say shomer chinam says it was stolen. I'm so sorry. Oh, Mr. Bailim, so clumsy. It was stolen. I guarded it, and I'm nishba that it wasn't kosher. I wasn't pusher. I wasn't learning deeply. I wasn't lahavdil on the phone deeply. I was shomer normally, and it was stolen. The shomer chinam is potter. What happens if shomer sochar says that? He's chayav. Shomer chinam is potter. Let's say the shomer chinam says, "I'm so sorry, it was stolen," and I swear. He doesn't really do that. Yes, don't do. Yeah, don't do it in Yiddishkeit. Yeah, he puts his hand on the Sefer Torah and he says, "I swear that it was stolen." And then you know what happened? Opa, 2 Adim came and they say that what? It was not stolen. It's in his backyard. He's lying. The shomer chinam is lying through his teeth. Not only lying, nishba shekel. How much does he have to pay? Double. He has to pay double. That's what we called in Bava Kama time and again verbal theft. It's a verbal theft. You stole with your words from the owner. Just like Iganav has to pay kefil, you too, Mr. Shomer Chinam, also has to pay kefil. That doesn't exist by shomer sochar. Of course, you can scream and say, shomer sochar just has to pay. True, but shomer sochar never pays double. So mitzad the numbers, shomer sochar, it's true that we're more machmir that he has to pay if he was stolen. That's true. On the other hand, yeah, a shomer sochar never ever in his life pays double, right? No such case. Shomer chinam has that kind of cute case that because of his kula, if he's abusing the kula and he's lying about the kula and says, "I swear it was stolen," and then he comes out as a shakra and he pays double. Oh, okay. If so, each one has a chumer and a kula. That's why Shelichus Yad has to be written in both, and it's not miyutar. Each one is a chomer and a kula. Shomer socher, shomer chinam. Shomer chinam is more meikol. He's potter migneva vaveda. Shomer socher is kula. He never has to pay kefil. So they're kind of the same. Therefore, the Torah has to tell me shlichus yad by shomer chinam and shlichus yad by shomer socher, because you can't learn it because the chomer from shomer chinam to shomer socher anymore. That's what Rabbi Yochanan himself says. Back to the ball is back in the court of who? Of Rabbi Yossi ben Aroi and his follower Levi, Uman Deloy Porich, the one who says, who does not break the hierarchy, and one who does believe that Shomer Chinam is more lenient and Shomer Socher more strict. What does he say? Soval, he believes, like I was hinting to before, Karna Beloy Shvua, Adifa Mikfela Beshvua. He says as follows: to pay the keren, to always have to pay the keren, the principal, the actual value of the item without shvua. Who does that? Shomer socho. Who has to pay in more cases? Statistically, out of all cases, Shia, Gneva Vaveda, Oines, stories, the one who has to pay more times is who? Is Mr. Shomer socho. He doesn't, he has to pay Gneva Vaveda, just the keren, just the principal, no kefo. But he does that without shvua. And he already has to pay without any further procedures. He just by the mere fact that it was stolen and Adim came or he admitted, he has to pay. Hey, Adifa that is considered more it's stricter, it puts him in a stricter place, Mikfela Bishvua, which means the Shomer Chinam, through the Shomer Chinam has a case that he has to pay double. That's not if he was stolen. It's only if he spoke and he swore. It's only after Shvua that he has to pay kefal. So it's not so much to do with the fact he's a shomer, it's to do with the fact that he's a, excuse my bad language, filthy liar. I'm sorry to use the word, but he is. He's mamash nishba l'sheker. Yeah, he's mamash shvua l'sheker. That's where he has to pay double. It's not so much in harki of shmira. It's just a person who's nishba l'sheker. In that context, has to pay kefal. Mimela, he believes, who's he? Rabbi Yossi ben Aroi, the shomer sochor is still considered, like we learned in Kita Dalet, more severe. Shomer chinam is less severe. And therefore, let's go back, the whole thing. Therefore, if the Torah told me what? If the Torah tells me Shelichus Yad by Shomer Chinam, who is more lenient, Kol Sheken, that by Shomer Socher, who's more severe, of course he has to pay by Shelichus Yad. So why did the Torah mention it twice? Here's Levi's big moment. To tell me that Shelichus Yad has a red line below it to tell me even without taking. It's a cheshbon. That's Levi in his group. Rabbi Yochanan, no. Rabbi Yochanan probably sides with Rav, by the way. Rabbi Yochanan would probably create a coalition with Rav, although the Gemara doesn't say it. But Chavrusa pointed out, and he's right. Rav and Rabbi Yochanan say no. They say a shomer, chinam, or socher, anybody, nobody has to, to just by the thought of it, you don't have to pay. Only if you really sip some wine, right? Why is the Torah telling you something extra? Isn't it to tell me the extra chumrah? No extra chumrah, say Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Elamai, the Torah said it twice, simply because it's not redundant. Because Shomer Chinam and Shomer Sachar are equally more or less the same. You just have to revise it. Oh, you're asking Machabrusa's question, and it's a good question, and at 10:25 I'll answer the question. Nice. I wanted to avoid it for now. I promise Belina at 10:25. Rove Omar, good point. Rove Omar. Rove says another answer. Rove Omar. Lo tomer shlichus yad. Now, Rove wants to give us an alternative answer and explain that even if you believe that Shomer Chinam and Shomer Socher are equals, let's say Shomer Chinam, Shomer Socher, like Rabbi Elazar, each one has his, pro and con. Each one has a chomer and a kula. It's still considered redundant, still superfluous to mention shlichus yad in either of them. Parents, you should have a big smile on your face now. Your big moment has arrived. How can we learn Shelichus Yad without mentioning it either by Shomer Socher or Shomer Chinam from Shoel? Look what the Gemara says. Rove Omar, Lo te'omer Shelichus Yad lo b'Shomer Chinam, lo b'Shomer Socher. Both psukim Ribbanu Shel Olam are redundant in the Torah. You don't have to mention Shelichus Yad neither by Chinam nor by Socher nor by my grandma. The Teisi Mishael. We can learn it from a Shoel, not Shoel that did Shelichus Yad. Regular halachic tzaddik sweetie of a shoyel. What does a shoyel do? A shoyel, look what the Gemara says. Uma shoyel biladas bailim ka'avid. A shoyel that does the shimush He's taking it, he's pulling it with the Baalim's permission in order to use it. Sholach bayad chayav. Now, these words are misleading. It doesn't mean he's sholach bayad illegally. Sholach bayad means he's illegal, sholach yad, and therefore any oinus that happens is chayav. You tell me, people, why is it that shoyel is chayav b'oinsin? Why is shoyel chayav b'oinsin? Oh, because he's using it. Yeah, bingo. You got 9 points and you got, yeah, very good. Nice. In other words, a shoyel is using it legally, but using it, you're using it completely right, left, and center. You're building an entire house with my Black and Decker. Of course, you got to pay when he died by Oinsin. If so, Shomechina ve'shomer sochar, who what? They abused it and they became an illegal shoyel, right? They're actually taking the item in order to use it against the Baalim's consent. They decide to be a shoyel without asking anybody. Lo kol sheken. So of course, a sholech yad, which is really an illegal shoyel, of course it's chayav be'oinsin. A legal shoyel is chayav be'oinsin, let alone kol sheken, an illegal shoyel, which is a sholech yad of shomer socher and shomer kinyan. Of course he has to pay be'oines. Lama ne'emar, oy vay voy. Now we have two extra psukim. Now we have two redundant psukim, and we have two gaps to fill. Says the Gemara, Chada. Well, one of them we know what. We know it's the agenda. Levy says, Levy has more support. Levy says, yes, look, the Torah tells me once, either chinam or sochor, to tell me what? The Shelichus Yad is red line. There's like an underline below shomer, below Shelichus Yad, to tell me Shelichus Yad is so severe, even without taking away, just by using it or by wanting to use it by hagbaha, already you're chayav. The idach. You still have another pasuk that's redundant in shomer sochor. Why do you have to tell me Shelichus Yad there? Let's tell shalot toimer. So you shouldn't tell me another chumrah to avoid, to prevent the following havamina. Where are you? Remember, it's whenever you have a kal v'homer, kal v'chomer means that the new halacha you're learning halachically cannot be more chomer than the original halacha. In other words, Miriam was punished to be 7 days in seclusion, in bidud, as you call it, for her tsaras, right? It should have been 14 days. Why? It says if her father, if she would whatever v'chula with her father, it would be 7 days. Against, if Hashem is angry with her, she should be what? Should be 14, not 7. Yeah, Hashem is more than the father, twice as much. This explains why. Yeah, so why is she 7 days? Because we say, although you learn something more chomer from the kal, the halacha, the numbers stay the same. They don't grow exponentially. Yeah, in other words, if she's punished 7 days, so the one who's against the Kodesh Baruch Hu should be, Hashem is angry with her, not her father. She should be double, triple. Why is she staying 7? It's a kal v'chomer, but the numbers remain the same. Only the halacha we learn. If so, had we played the game of daya over here, you know what would be the halacha? We would learn Shelichus Yad is chayav, but with all the conditions of shoyel. Let me tell you, shoyel has certain halachas that are kula. There are certain kulos by shoyel more than any other shomer. There's a very, very famous one which we're going to see now. What? Be'olav imoy. Parents, you're the star of the show today. Be'olav imoy. What's be'olav imoy? Let's say when the person, meaning the owner, lends his Black and Decker or his car or his horse to the person, he does the Mashiach at the same time when the Sheila begins, the Bailim does work for the Shoyel. From some reason, which I don't know, it's some kind of hashkafic reason, Rav Shimshon Fol Hirsch explains it. From some reason, the Shoyel is then potter moinsin. Don't ask me why, but that's Gzeras HaKosu. Yeah, if the Bailim helped him the time of the beginning of the Sheila, even with a different malacha, the Bailim did malacha for the shoyel, then the shoyel is exempt. We're not going to the details. Believe me, around after the Gimel, we're going to have a celebration. I would have said, wait, if the only source of Shelichus Yad is from shoyel, and there's no independent source of Shelichus Yad by shomer socher, let's say, I would say, it's copy and paste. It's not copy and triple, double, and exponential. If so, look what the Gemara says. Ma shoyel bebailim potu. I would have thought, had this been the only source, I would have said shoyel, if the bailim does work with him, is potur on what? On oinsin. Av shomer china v'shomer sacha bebailim potu. Very good. That's what I would have said. I would have said same thing by them. Every person, shomer socher, shomer chinam, was an illegal shoyel, but he's only learned from the good shoyel. I would have said if the Baalim started off by helping them, they'd be potter by unseen. That's why we need an independent pasuk in shomer socher to tell me no, my source is not from shoyel. Had my source been from shoyel, I would have come to make this terrible mistake and patter him in Balavima. We don't want that. Shomer chinam, shomer socher, I want to grill them. They're going to be always chayav in the oinsin of what? Of chisaron, even without chisaron. They're always going to be chayav in Shelichus Yad, even without chisaron and even without balavim. A few more lines. I know it's 10:26, but we just have to finish the page, and it's very easy. Oh, now let's flip it back. According to the Rav says what? Shelichus Yad requires chisaron. He is mekel. Shelichus Yad doesn't have those red lines and those exchange, as though that that extra emphasis. Shelichus Yad is easy. Only if you really used it, then you chayav b'oinus. If so, hani ta'ati shlichus yad lamali. So why do you need the two psukim, right? If it's really not coming to tell me, right, that the extra chumrah, because the extra chumrah doesn't exist, so why did the Torah repeat shlichus yad twice if we know it already from shoyel? Says the Gemara, one is easy, chada, one of them is written, shilotar madav ben adin lios kenidon. Obviously, one of them is clear. I could had I learned it from shoyel, or I mistakenly thought that the leniency of shoyel applies here. And really, if the Baalim helped him at the beginning, his potter, we want to rule that out. The idach. Oh, now why do you need another post? Look, that's for a completely different reason. Like in the Tanya, for a very, very different reason. It says in the Brisa, "V'nikal Baal Bais El Elohim." What does it mean? Nikal Baal Bais El Elohim. The Baal Bais, the owner, and the shoel, or the shomer socher, they together come to Beis Din to fight it out, to clarify the story. L'shvua. Says the Brisa, the person is only chayav, let's say in the case of kefil b'toin tanis ganav, if the guy lied, only if he lied, shomer chinam said he was stolen and he lied, he's only chayav to pay double if he was nishba. Says the Brisa, how do you know? Atamer l'shvua, oino l'ladin, how do you know? Let's say he lied without shvua. He just lied and he said, "Oh, please believe me," without shvua that he was stolen. And then we saw that he was not stolen, that it's in his house. Maybe he's already chayav kefil. And that we need the gzera. We need the gzera shova. Nema shlichus yad lemata, v'nema shlichus yad lemala. Alana l'shvua, afkan l'shvua. Very, very easy. Basically like this. By shomer, the word shlichus yad is only used as what Mechavrusa calls it, a bridge or a link between gzera shova. You know what's gzera shova? You have the same word appearing twice. So sometimes the Torah gives you an extra word just to be the import-export center of the other halacha, and to tell me. Just like b'shomer socher, it says mefurash shvuas Hashem tiyeh ben shneim. It says shvua b'shomer socher that he swore that he was be'oinsin, and there it says the words lo sholach yodoi. Now let's link it back. Lo sholach yodoi of shomer chinam is also telling me with shvua, not about shlichus yad, to tell me that if he turned his ganav, he said it was stolen. He's only have to pay careful if there was shvua. Good. Maskono. So Rav and Levy argue whether Shelichus Yad is something that has to be taken away physically or just wanted to take away. Baruch means asked a very good question, which Mechavrus and I did not yet find an answer, but we have an idea. Baruch asked the question, and that is the chayra. Even according to Abelazar that says the shomer chinyan and shomer socher are the same, if they're the same exactly, why does it have to repeat it? Even if you tell me, even if you broke the hierarchy, and shomer chinam is not more lenient than shomer socher, still, l'mais, if they're the same, why does it have to repeat it? Answers my genius of a chavrus. So he says no. That's why I said more or less. We don't know that they're the same chumrah. Each one has a chumrah and a kula. It's not numbers that both of them are 53% chomer. Let me talk a second. In other words, I would have had the Torah told me only shomer chinam. I said, shomer chinam is chomer, so only he has to have shlichus yad because he's more chomer because he pays kefil. But shomer socher maybe it's different. And had the Torah only told me shomer socher, of course he has shlichus yad. Shomer socher has to pay b'gneva v'aveda, while a shomer chinam is potter. They're not equal. They're both potentially more or less. Each one has a pro and a con. That's why had the Torah had written one and not the other, I wouldn't have derived the other one automatically. They're not equal that they're both numbers 53.5% exactly the same chumrah. They both can be looked at more chomer, more kal. That's why if the Torah would have written one Shelichus Yad and not the other, I would have not automatically derived Shelichus Yad to the other one, because I would always be the smarty guy to always find another kula in the other case. That's why I have to mention it in both. And that was a good question. And I think it's emes. I think when Mecharu says Poshup Pshat is good. Atzlach Rabba. Good day. Reuven is Mecharusa. Which Reuven are you talking about?